Keep up with Scottish football with your host, John Turner.
So in this week's episode of the Low Ball Show, I'm joined by a man that's played with Queen's Park, Clyde, Airdrie, Ayr, Berchin, Albion Rovers, Alloa, and is currently with East Fife. Alan Trouten. Alan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me, John. Much appreciated.
I mean, the first question I've got for you, Alan, would be just now at East Fife, and before we kind of take a look back over your career at East Fife just now, I mean, you've been there nearly a couple of years. How are you finding things there?
I'm enjoying it.
I know you scored the other week.
Yeah, I'm on a half decent run now. That's 6 in my last 8 I've got, so I'm enjoying it. As you said, it's my second season there, so it was Stevie Crawford that signed me. Then it went to Greg McDonald, and now the current gaffer Dick Campbell's in charge. So in a short spell, I went through 3 different managers. But it's good, as I say, it's a good bunch of boys. And the last 9 weeks with the change of manager, we've managed to put a wee run together and hopefully make the playoffs by the end of the season.
And is that difficult? Because obviously a manager, when they bring you in, and they've obviously picked you and brought you in for a reason. They've got a kind of vision, a plan, or where they see you fitting, and then another manager comes in, and then you have to kind of, I suppose, wonder, are you in their plans?
It can be difficult. The only thing was, so Greg was Stevie's assistant, and I'd spoke to Greg before I joined, and he was part of kind of the meetings I'd had and the phone calls I'd had about joining East Fife. So I knew there was a relationship there before Stevie left. And then when Dick came in, he tried to sign me for a couple of times for a broth. So I always kind of had in my mind that if he'd tried to sign me previously, then he must have liked me at some point. But I think at my age now, you always have it in the back of your mind that a new manager coming in, will he want to keep senior players, will he look at your age first? But I've been quite lucky, and I've started every game under the new management, and I've managed to do not too bad for them since they came in.
And just the kind of other question on it is, obviously Dick in Scottish football, Dick Campbell's a massive character.
Yep.
What's he like to play under?
He's been great, because my position had changed in the last year or so under the previous manager. I'd always played, the last 10, 15 years as a number 10, and I'd moved slightly deeper, a lot deeper, sitting in front of the back four. And the first thing Dick said to me when he came in was, "What the fuck you doing playing back there, son?" And I was like, "Well, that's where the last manager saw me playing." And then the next bit was, "You're that fucking slow now that you can't play off a striker." And I was like, "Well, I don't think I'm particularly slower than I have been the last 5 or 6 years." He's like, "Right, okay." I played one game in the middle of the park, and he's like, "The only thing you were non-existent. The only thing you done was set up the goal. The one thing you went forward." So then, from then on, I've played higher up, and as I say, I've managed to do not too bad. But he's very funny. Him and his brother have got loads of stories, and it's very enjoyable. They make it enjoyable, whether it's training or before games. They take all the pressure off you by having a laugh and a joke. But when it's time to get serious, it's serious. When the games come, when the work's there to be done in training, there's no room for many jokes, because it's serious work. And if you're farting about, or if you're not putting the work in, then they'll no be slow in telling you.
And again, this is just not just solely with kind of being like Dick Campbell and stuff, but in any kind of situation, what's the kind of atmosphere along with the other boys like when there's talking, like, now you've got no manager just now, there's a new manager coming in, and there's like whispers going about. Do you really keep up to date? Do you talk much to one another about the potential of who's coming in?
I think it is always kind of mentioned, but it was quite a quick turnaround. I think Greg resigned on the Saturday night, the Sunday morning, after we'd been beat up at Elgin. And I'm sure Dick was in taking training on the Thursday. It might have been announced maybe the Tuesday or Wednesday. And after Greg had made this known that he resigned, but then said to the board, like, I think the club, to go forward, you should be looking at Dick Campbell. Greg had worked under him. He was a YTS at Dunfermline back when the manager was at Dunfermline. So and I think he still had a close relationship to him. We used to phone him for advice with regards to the management side. So I'm sure it was Greg that put the club in, that kind of maybe started the wheels turning for that. And then, as I say, we've went 9 games unbeaten since they've come in. So he's really turned their fortunes around.
And I think he's massively as well a fan favourite.
Yep.
So do you see the kind of difference with supporters and stuff?
You can, because we were struggling. So I think, because Greg was a player at East Fife and done very well, and he was kind of a hero in the fans' eyes. So I think the fans really want him to do well. We got to the playoffs last season. We snuck in late on. We went on a good run. We snuck into fourth. We probably should have beat Clyde over the 2 legs. They beat us in extra time last season. But then this season, we were very inconsistent. We just couldn't get a run going at all. And then the atmosphere around the club, especially in match day, had kind of turned. But then it seems to have turned on its head since the new management came in. And I think they do provide that. As you said, they are big names in Scottish football, and I think they've got that character that fans like. And then when the results turn, no matter who's in charge and who's playing, when you're on a good run, when you're not losing, when you're winning games, the fans are always going to come with you.
Yeah. And just the final question on it, just we talking about like kind of match day and stuff, is a player, if the atmosphere's kind of, and regardless of a club, because I'm sure, kind of over your years you've probably experienced, the kind of highs and lows, across numerous clubs. But when the atmosphere's feeling kind of, downbeaten or downhearted, how's that going out as a player?
I think now at my age, it doesn't really affect me. Maybe when I was younger, and we have got quite a young squad at East Fife, so it possibly could have been affecting them. You could see a couple of younger ones maybe struggling for confidence, but there wasn't with regards to the old management and the players, there was no problem there. We were still all playing for the manager, we were still training, we were all putting the effort in, but it's probably similar just now. We're in a kind of routine. We're not getting beat. Whereas when it goes the other way, you just get into that rut. No matter how you're playing, the luck won't be on your side. You'll lose a goal, and then you can see the kind of the energy sapping out the players, the fans, and then it is difficult to get out that rut. But then, just on the other hand, there's times now we're kind of on a run. I've been undefeated. That's 9 games now. You get that wee bit of luck going for you. So it's amazing how quickly football can change, and that wee bit of luck that you need on your side.
And the fans at this level, I mean, we'd spoken of, I travel about, go to a lot of games, are quite quick in being vocal as well, though, if they're not happy.
Oh, definitely. We've been booed off at half time quite a few times this season. Some deservedly so, and others you're kind of thinking, all right, okay. But as I say, when you're winning games, fans then get used to winning games. I'm very close pals with Andy Graham, who's now got the Alloa manager's job. Speaking to him a few weeks, they went on an unbelievable run, and then he said, I don't know, it was a home game, they get beat maybe with Queen of South a couple of weeks ago, and he said he heard a few things for fans, and he's just like, back the boys, like, come on. I know fans are there to pay their money, but you still you're going to get people that are never happy,
Yeah.
no matter if you win the game 2-0, they'll be like, oh, we had chances to win 3 or 4. You get beat 1-0, like, oh, why are we getting beat with that team? So you're not going to please everybody, but it's your job to try our best, put the results on, and see what it takes us by the end of the season.
And just funny you mentioning that, because I was at maybe a few weeks back now. I was at an Albion Rovers game, and you know what it's like. I mean, you've played there, the stadium, you know what it's like,
Yep.
and you could hear fans getting very vocal. It was nothing each, and fans started to get very, very vocal. And this was going on kind of second half for a bit of time. And then one goal, and all of a sudden, the same people that were very vocal and unhappy were singing, cheering people's names, applauding every touch of the ball. And you're going, I mean, that's how quickly, the kind of click of a finger, the
Oh,
atmosphere can
definitely.
just change.
Definitely. I think you'd have heard that today if you watched the Rangers Celtic game. When with that first goal, because like crowd, the atmosphere's bouncing. It's 50,000 Rangers fans. There's no away fans. They're bouncing. They're bouncing. Celtic score early, and then it's just poisonous. You can hear the atmosphere turn, and you heard it with the captain Tavernier every time he was getting the ball. When there was grumbles, he gets the penalty, score, and whilst he's waiting to hit the penalty, they're singing a song about him. Whereas like 40 minutes earlier, they're getting him dogs abuse, scores the penalty, and then the crowd just get with the game. Even when I was at Brechin, we played Rangers the first game of the season. They'd won League Two, so this was getting into League One. They were unfurling the flag, 50,000. I'm sure it was Sandy Jardine at the time, unfurled the flag for them, party mode. They scored after a minute, and you're like, oh my God, this is hell, because they're so up for the game. All the songs are going. They score in injury time before half time to make it 2-0. We come out in the second half, start well, we make it 2-1, and it goes for an absolute party atmosphere of poison. And then you could just feel the full sense in the stadium turning. You could then see it in their players and just that pressure. And it's just goals change games. And we actually done all right for a spell. They ended up beating us 4-1 quite comfortably. But it's just amazing, even at the top clubs, when they're a Rangers playing a Brechin City at the time, how quickly that atmosphere can turn, because fans are there to pay their money, they're there to see their team win.
Yeah.
And when it's not going their way, they're very quick to voice their opinions. And it's probably more at the lower leagues. At the bigger crowds, you can hear the kind of the groans, but at the lower leagues, when it's less fans, you can hear the personal abuse. Like you just hear a noise kind of in the bigger stadiums when it's 50,000. You don't hear the individual comments to the players, and some of them can be quite horrific.
I suppose I do need to ask, but has there ever been a comment shouted from the crowd that has made you laugh?
Uh, aye, there was one. There was one recently. We've got a boy, Scott Shepherd, right? He's going to Turkey in the summer to get his hair done, but he puts probably a full tin of hairspray on it to fucking hold it in position, right? But see, when it's windy, it comes away up like Bobby Charlton, away up the back, flying high. And there was two wee boys at Forfar and made a throw in, and the two wee boys were giving him dogs abuse, just pissing themselves laughing. Like, what the fuck's that in your head, mate? And then I was in stitches during the game. And in fact, I think he got a wee bit of abuse yesterday at Steny. So it's quite funny because under the last management, it was kind of kept, kind of swept under the cap. There wasn't much stick, but he's had a few comments for the new management and the big mouths that's come in. So it's funny, but he's going to Turkey to get his barnet done in the summer.
So if people didn't know, if they watch this, they'll know now.
I don't know now. I don't worry, don't worry. He knows the state he's born, so he's got to get it done in the summer. But I think he needs to miss maybe 6 weeks or something. They can't not sweat for 4 6 weeks, is it maybe when you get your hair done?
And I'm assuming with some players there'll be games that folk would argue they probably wouldn't have sweated anyway.
Well, that's not for me, but I agree.
But looking kind of back, to your kind of earlier days in football, and your first appearance, I think, came at Queen's Park
Yep.
from leaving from Morton. What was that like to make your kind of debut and actually be going out and
I made my debut as a sub for Queen's Park up at Elgin. So it's a proud moment. Like when you're young, you dream of playing professional football, and to get that chance for somebody, I was only 17, for somebody to put their trust in you to get you on that pitch. It was a very, very proud moment and something I loved. I think I actually hit the bar on my debut. It didn't manage to score, but I hit the bar and you get that buzz, you get that adrenaline rush, and we won the game. And then you see that side of it, and then you see the real side of the lower leagues, especially back then. That's going back more than 20 years. You see it's a trip to Elgin, so you're back in the bus, and it's just mental. It's just carnage. But it was the away games. So away
yeah?
games when I was younger, like it was just like your 3 or 4 hours, a boys bevy and getting a laugh, a carry on. But you don't get that anymore. The days I think are gone for most now, unfortunately.
And when you looked at, obviously at Queen's Park, you were there for just over 3 years, three.
I think it was about 4 years, 3 4 years.
And I mean, obviously being there for that length of time, and you made a lot of appearances during that time. How did you kind of find your time there?
Oh, I loved it. absolutely loved it. Couldn't speak highly enough of the club, and everybody that was there. As I say, like, we were all kind of roughly the same age, that group, when we were there. So we became best pals off the pitch as well. So the social side of it for young boys at that time, relatively close to Glasgow, most of the Glasgow boys all based. So you would just train your twice a week, your nights out at the weekend, your Christmas do's with the club, and then we went away every pre-season as well. So it was a real close knit club and some very good players, very good, who went on to have great careers. So I couldn't speak highly enough. I know it's all changed at Queen's Park now. We were playing as amateurs back then. You were getting expenses, so I stayed in Rutherglen at the time. Trained at Lesser Hampden, Mount Florida, so I was getting like £6 a night. But I wouldn't change it for the world. As I say, love my time there. Kenny Brannigan signed me, Billy Stark came in, Gardner Spears came in. So I can't speak highly enough of Queen's Park.
And then, from there, going to Clyde, how did
Aye.
that move come about? Was that really because of the kind of contract situation, or?
Well, there was always kind of interest a few years, but speaking to Billy Stark with his experience, he would say, right, I think you should have another year. So I left Queen's Park at 21, 22, and I'd made more than 100 appearances for Queen's Park. So I had that kind of background. Although I was relatively young in years, my experience of playing football was quite high, because you see boys now getting to 22, 23, and they've probably made like 10 first team appearances. So I'd played a lot of games, and I was at that age. So I'd been straight for school at Morton full time for just about a year, and I wanted to be a full time footballer. I wanted to go full time, and obviously the bit with Queens Park with being amateurs, they didn't have that facility for you to be full time. So I was desperate to try full time football, and there was interest for a few different clubs, and then me and Stuart Kettlewell, we both went to Clyde for Queens Park.
And yeah, I suppose just kind of touch on when you were at Clyde. How did you kind of find it there with having the kind of amateur kind of background in regards to the Queen's Park contract before it, and then moving on to Clyde?
At the start, it was difficult going from part time training to full time. Obviously, the workload, but I felt as if I adapted quite quickly. But it was probably the wrong time for, like, sorry, the wrong time at the wrong team for me. It wasn't the way we played at Queen's Park. Played a slightly different position in battling at the bottom of the league in the championship. And as I say, the football we played was totally different from what I was used to. The environment for the management under Billy and Gardner was totally different from what I was used to as well. And I know I didn't play my best football at Clyde, and I'm sure the fans, if you asked them, they wouldn't be slow in telling you that, oh, he wasn't good enough for us. It was, as I say, it was looking back, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it wasn't the best of moves for me.
And then from there, you kind of moved on to Airdrie.
Yep.
Um, how did you kind of find your time there?
It was same again, same as Clyde, with some really good players, with some great boys. Fitted in well, dressing room. Kenny Black had tried to sign me before I went to Clyde. And then after my year at Clyde, he'd got in contact again. And so we were meant to be League One, I think, with Airdrie when I signed, and he was looking to put a team together to win League One. But I think that was maybe the Gretna season when they
Yeah.
get put out the SPL, and then everybody kind of get bumped up a league. So I'm sure we were late in getting put back into the championship. So it was another struggle a season, and same again. I didn't play particularly my best football at Airdrie, and same as the Clyde fans, I don't imagine they would have many good words to say about me.
But then you were at Ayr,
Yep.
and you kind of, again, you'll be the best one to correct me if I'm wrong here, but settled a lot more at Ayr a lot quicker.
Well, I had a couple of pals at Ayr, like my best mate at the time, Dean Keenan, he was at Ayr, convinced me to sign there under Brian Reid, and that changing room was mental, absolutely mental. Same again, I probably never played, this isn't going great for me, is it? That's another 2 years that I wouldn't have played my best football, but we won we beat Brechin in the playoffs to get promoted into the championship, and then the next season we got to the semi-final of the League Cup. We played, obviously, the Ayrshire Derby, which was an unbelievable experience against Kelly at Hampden in the semi-finals of the League Cup. And that was the season that Kelly went on to win it. They beat Celtic 1-0 in the final. I'm sure they beat us in the extra time, the semi. So looking that way, it was kind of successful. We win promotion, getting to a League Cup final. But same again, I never felt that I showed my true ability when I was at here.
And then, and I think this is kind of safe to say, you go to Brechin,
Yep.
and that's where kind of droves of goals do seem to come.
Aye. I had I know bad kind of goal scoring spell when I was at Queen's Park, scored a few goals, and then not particularly great. What was that, the next 4 years then? But then Brechin signed under Jim Weir, if I'm being honest, didn't like it at the start, and then we were terrible, and I think maybe the October time, and then we were back at Somerset. They get a man sent off early doors. We missed a penalty, and then with 10 men, they pumped us 3-0. And then Jim Weir get the sack, and Ray McKinnon came in. And obviously, kind of seen Ray's career as a footballer, knew him kind of as a footballer and how talented he was as a footballer. And one of his first nights, he was speaking to every player, and he's like, "What are you thinking?" I was like, I'm not enjoying it. I don't know. I'm honestly considering chucking football. Like, just the spells I'd had at Clyde, Airdrie, Ayr, just, and then the way it started at Brechin, that I wasn't enjoying it at all. And that was my thoughts at the time. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep playing. And he's like, give us 2 or 3 weeks. Let see how we work, see how you enjoy it there. And then when he came in, the way we played, I absolutely loved it. Once you start scoring goals, once you start enjoying your football, then there's nothing better in the world. Honestly, see when you're enjoying your football, it's unbelievable. When you're not enjoying it, it can be hard. It can be very hard, which I don't think a lot of people understand. They're like, oh, you're playing football, but when it's not going well for you, you're losing games, your confidence is shot. It's very difficult, but then there's nothing better when you feel confident and you're enjoying it. And that spell, that season, same again, we got to the playoffs, and I absolutely loved my spell there.
And then, and I suppose just in what we've kind of spoke about in that there, you get back to Ayr.
Uh, I know for what I've just said. So Ian McCall, when I was leaving Queen's Park, I'd spoke to Ian about going to Thistle. He was the manager at Thistle. He signed Peyton and Kearney for that Thistle team. And all my dad's side of the family are Thistle fans, so there's always been a connection. When I was younger, I'd have a season ticket for Firhill, and then I got a wee bit older. My mum's side are Rangers fans. I got a season ticket for Ibrox. I just love football. I'd go anywhere, watch games of football. So there was always that pull, but it just kind of dragged on a wee bit longer than I was wanting to. I was wanting to get something sorted, and then that's how I ended up signing for Clyde, which wasn't great with my dad's side of the family or Thistle fans. The rivalry there between Clyde, so I got a bit of stick, rightly so, for jumping to the Clyde side. But then I knew kind of Ian's interest there, and then when he went here, he was desperate to get me for Brechin, and he never left me alone. And I knew he would bring success. I knew we'd be up there challenging at the top of the league. I knew we'd get good players, and that's exactly what he done.
And then I suppose it's safe to say you thought Brechin was the better option and went back.
Right, so I signed a 2 year at here. So went there for the year. Same again, we get promoted through the playoffs. So that would have been, I'm sure it was a Sunday. We beat Stranraer in a penalty shootout in the playoffs. But my time, like towards the end of the season, I wasn't playing. I was in and out the team. And I think I came on the first leg of the final down at Stranraer. I think I set up Ross Docherty's goal, and then was on the bench for the second leg, and it went to extra time. I'm sure I come on at extra time, and I think I only got to put on the pitch because the manager knew it was going to penalties, and he knew my record as a penalty taker.
Yeah.
And so, same again, see if I'm not enjoying football, I would just want to enjoy it. I want to play. I want to enjoy it. I want to show people my strengths, my attributes. So I wasn't doing that here. So I had another year on my contract. So on the Monday the next day, I used to work down in Prestwick. So I spoke to Ian on the phone. I said, "Can I come in and speak to you?" And he's like, "I no bother, come in. I'm in anyway." So I went in the Monday. he's like, oh, what do you think the next season? And I was like, don't want to be here. And he's like, all right, I knew you weren't enjoying it. Like, how long's this been for? And I was like, August, September. I knew early doors. And in my part, it probably was a mistake getting back because I didn't particularly enjoy my first 2 years. I was away for the 3 years at Brechin and then to go back. So always thought I could turn it round, and as I say, but I didn't enjoy it again. So we managed to become. So I had another year in my contract, so I got that cancelled, and then Darren Dodds at Brechin was on the phone, and because I'd loved my first spell there, then it was something. There was still quite a few of the boys there for my first spell, and it was somewhere I knew, somewhere I enjoyed. So I was desperate to get back to Brechin.
And you touched on it, so and I had it down to kind of speak a bit later on about, but suppose you touch on it just now, was your record for penalties.
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot of people that obviously, it gets to penalties, but you've consistently had this great record, and you've scored a lot of games that have went to penalties. You've got the deciding penalty, things like
Yeah.
that. Is that just something that you're just very confident in?
Aye, it's something I'm confident in, and as a forward player, like it's a chance to score goals. Score goals is the hardest thing in the world. And like I went through a spell probably last season at East Fife. I think I scored 12 goals and maybe 7 or 8 of them are penalties. And people are like, oh, did you score a goal? Aye, I scored. Oh, was it a penalty again? I'm like, aye. And what? It's a part of the game. It's a
Yeah,
part of the game. It's a goal. A penalty counts as much as a 40-yard screamer. It's still a goal. And I think more now, you see more and more penalties getting missed.
yeah,
So I don't see the big issue. Oh, you scored a penalty. Aye, it's a goal. But I've always been confident taking them. I'll continue to be confident taking them. And always like when I'm speaking to a manager, if I'm moving clubs, I always like to get that in there. Like, what's the situation with the penalties at the clubs? I like to know if I'm going to be the penalty taker.
well, because that was the next part I had. Because obviously you've got a fantastic record on penalty taking, and I fully agree. A goal's a goal. A,
Yep.
a postman's expected to post letters through the door. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if he does it for an inch or a foot away.
Aye.
It's more impressive it would be if he flung it for the gate,
Aye.
but
Yep.
you're doing the same thing. But with it, a lot of teams, and you see that, and especially as I say, I travel about and look, and you see a lot of missed penalties, but you've consistently been, there. So what's it like when you go in and you say, what's the penalty situation like? Is it easy to, with your record, to kind of push in and become, or
I,
is there?
I think it depends. Like, see if there's been somebody there for a few years and they've been a penalty taker. I would never go in straight away and like oh, I'm on the penalties. Never. If there's a spot there for like some maybe it's a fresh squad or the penalty taker for the previous season's no longer there, then I'd always put my point of view that across that right. I want to hit the pens and then speak to it, but I would never cause anything on the pitch. But I would always be confident of going to a new club and saying, listen, not more than happy. I want to take the penalties.
And I suppose one of the things, and just there's a wee spell obviously we'll cover, but just to kind of jump in regards to the penalty, because when you've obviously came to East Fife, I mean, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, is probably at the latter end of your career as
Yep.
a player.
Uh-huh.
So, but you've went in there as all this experience, and to be honest, knowing kind of around the leagues in Scotland for years. So when you go into a club like that, do you feel like even people that you perhaps don't know your record in penalties, and maybe then become, oh, he's going to want to take the penalties?
I think that would be the case, yeah. But also the managers that sign me, like they'll know my penalty record. They'll know that I've been on the penalties at most clubs. So sometimes it's not me breaching the subject of it. They bring it up like there's an opportunity there. You want to be the penalty taker? Aye, of course. And then that's it sorted. As soon as the manager says it, like it's just agreed. And that's how if you see like any of the players fighting on the pitch, then I just think that's a total nonsense and selfishness on the players' part. I think it should always be sorted for the manager and at the club. Who's taking the penalties. If that penalty taker comes off the pitch, then there's always somebody next in line. It needs to be organised like that.
And I'm assuming, obviously, in the amount of training sessions over the years you've done, there's been penalty drills.
No,
Do,
I don't like taking penalties in training. I
well,
don't like it.
I was going to ask, do you feel because of your record, though, a bit more in training now, everybody's looking, just expecting there's going to be a goal, so maybe a bit more stick in training if you were to miss?
I don't think I've been at a club that's done many like penalty shootouts, like training for penalties. I know at Allo under Jim Goodwin, if we played the wee games, he would always have a tally mark for a team to win the tournament at the end of training. And if that was a draw, then we set it in penalties, but it'd be straight sudden death. I remember being in pre-season in Italy with Queen's Park, and we'd done a penalty competition and just the last man standing. But any other club, I don't think we've ever like done a set kind of penalty competition or anything. Or what I do feel though, if I've not hit one in a while, so I went through a spell this season without getting one. I got one away to Elgin early doors, and then I hadn't had one, and then it starts to play in your mind. And because it's not my head to practice at training, and then I'm like, right, I'll go and I'll practice maybe 2 or 3 at training tonight, and then you would forget, and then you come to a game, and you're like, right, if I get a penalty today, what's your routine? What would normally just come naturally to you if you were hitting maybe a few? Because last season, as I say, I think I get 7 or 8. So maybe like every 3, 4, 5 games you were getting a penalty. So you're just used to getting into it and sticking it away. But like I missed a penalty away to TNS this season, and I managed to score the rebound, but ended it seeing that goal for the game. I didn't even celebrate because I was so angry with myself for missing a penalty. Even though the goalie saved it, I've put in the rebound, but I was raging myself for missing it because I just I just expect myself to score.
And this is the final part on penalties, you'll probably be sick of hearing it, but
Oh,
when you're, if a penalty, like, you play and a penalty's awarded and you're in the park, you're the penalty taker, you're taking it, is it a case of everything that's going on round about is now just forgotten? You're picking up that ball and you've got one thing in mind, or do you see players that will come up and maybe give a bit of mouth, try and
uh,
sway things or put things off? Do you pay attention to any of that, or?
I just kind of laugh it off. See, I quite like that. Like teams shouldn't be making it easy for you to score. Like it is a penalty, but they should be trying to put you off, saying stuff in your ear. Why not? It's part of the game, isn't it? Like you shouldn't just be like off. I'll just be quiet, let him go up nice and relaxed, and he might score a goal against us. Players should be trying to put you off, should be trying to get in your head, and you get the goalies. But then up on the other, in the flip of the coin, see when you score, you can get it right up them. So if a
Yeah.
goalie's giving you a bit of defender, then you can then it's payback. You've managed to score, and then you can give them a bit back, which is all part of football.
And to look, and obviously speaking on the career and the seasons, and one of the kind of more recent clubs that you've been at was Albion Rovers.
Yep.
You'd spent, and I think kind of safe to say had a very successful season there.
Well,
Uh,
individually, it was
Individually, yeah.
successful. Obviously, the way the season ended was absolute gutting. Uh, it probably made worse with the last game of the season. It was the only game I missed through injury, last game of the season. So, and we went to Somerset, and we had an Air one, so they won the league. That at a club that I wasn't particularly liked at by the fans. I didn't particularly enjoy being there. They've won the league, and I'm sitting in the other dressing room. Can I do anything to influence the game? And my club's been relegated. So that was a real low point. But individually, loved my time at Albion Rovers. Managed to do particularly well. Scored 28 goals in all competitions that season. I scored 20 in the league, and we managed to finish bottom on the last day, which was just it's such a bittersweet moment. People are like, "Oh, you had a great season this season." I'm like, "But we finished bottom of the league, so it's a tough one to take."
And looking at the kind of time there in that season, because obviously for yourself, individually, if you were to have a tally individually of what would be expected, goals, appearances, you're able to kind of tick all this off. But as a team, the results just weren't quite coming. How was that? What was that season kind of like?
But with regards like setting targets, I never set my target for goals. Never, I've never done that over any season. I know players, especially strikers, that will be like, right, I want to get to double figures or whatnot. It's something I've never particularly done. But with the season we start, so the first game, going back to the Ayr one, so the first league game, Ayr beat us, I think 5-0. So going back to the Ayr kind of relationship, I was like, for fuck's sake, it had to be Ayr pumped us. We'd done all right in the Betfred. So we drew one each with Steny. The first game I scored in that. We went to East Bride. I think we won 5-2 maybe. I think I scored two and Connor Shields got a hat trick. Midweek we played Hamilton. We drew 4 each. I scored a hat trick and then I scored in the penalty shootout. And then we went down to Dumfries to play Queen of the South. And we drew 2 each and I scored a double. So I was on, what's that? 1, 3, 6. I was on 8 goals after 4 games, so my confidence was up. I was flying, and then to go into that first league game, get pumped 5-0. You're like, oh, this could be a long season. But then I'm sure, but after the first quarter, I think we were second, and I'll never forget it. Going back full circle, East Fife. So we went away to East Fife, and Brian Kerr, the manager, said he's like, right, this is a massive game for us. If we win today, then I see us kicking on. We could be pushing like for the playoffs or promotion. We could be pushing at the top end of the league. He says, but if we lose today, we'll need to be careful we don't get into a slippery slope. We were 4-2 up with I think 12 minutes to go, and we get beat 5-4. It was just an absolute capitulation. Get beat 5-4, sit in the dressing room, and you're like, how has that happened? How can you be leading a game with 12 minutes to go, 4-2, and end up getting beat? And it was a low dressing room. And then I think after that, we won 2 games in the league the rest of the season. So done really well. First quarter, lost that game, and then I think we won 2 more games, which was a long season to the end.
And in your kind of time that you'd spent there, obviously, not many in regards to where the club kind of ended up. Not a great memory in that regard. Individually,
Yep.
obviously doing really well. But
Uh,
do you have any memories from that season that kind of stick out to you?
well, I think the playing Hamilton, so it was obviously a derby game, maybe being so close to each other and managed to score a hat trick. So that was great. And then there was there was a good few highlights, but even that group of boys, that dressing room was mental, absolute mental, and we had great times in the off the park, some great times on the park. So we scored 5 up at Arbroath. We scored 5 at Queen's Park. Did we? We scored 5, I'm sure, at Hampden against Queen's Park. We battered some teams. We played some great football. It was, see, when it came to the winter time and the pitches weren't great, we had a
Yeah.
lot of very good footballers. And then we had Connor Shields who played up top. And Connor, he's still now, he's out in the India now, and I imagine he's still rapid. But Connor would have been 18, and he was that quick. He was a great outball for us, but he also stretched the game and gave me quite a lot of space in behind him. Connor got a move to Sunderland in the January, so we really missed him. He would have been on double figures goals wise as well, and we missed Connor. It, what a move to get for Albion Rovers or
Yeah.
any club in Scotland at 17, 18. You get the chance to go down to Sunderland. Great move for him. That was well deserved. He's a lovely boy, daft as a brush, but what a boy! And he was excellent. I loved playing with him. But we fair missed him as well when he left in the January.
And then from there, and I know you kind of touched upon it, you went to Alloa. How did you find it there? Because again, if you look kind of individually, your stats were still, goal wise and everything was
Uh-huh.
still very consistent.
I absolutely loved my time. Loved my time at Alloa. I knew some of the boys, and then I became friendly very quickly with the rest of the team. And we still meet up. Most of the boys at least 2 or 3 times a year. We've got a WhatsApp group chat. We're always kind of talking to each other. As I say, some of them they'll be friends for life. And the club as a whole, that's another club that no really got a bad word to say. The way they look after you, the way they treat you, like for the chairman at the time, the managers at the time, Kitman, Joyce that makes the food, we Pat the Kitman, Tony, everybody. The way the club's run was absolutely brilliant. Jim Goodwin signed me. So I played under Jim for a year. Absolutely loved my time under Jim. Great guy, really good manager. The only thing was after 60 minutes, I knew I was getting taken off. I knew it. Like, it was weird. I think I was the most sub player. I don't think just in the league, I think in the country that season. And no matter how I was playing, I knew after between 60 and 70 minutes, off you come. But my argument was like, I always felt as if I'd get a chance. So I spoke to Jim. I was like, listen, you're the manager, it's your choice. Like, why is it? Because whether I agree with him or not, at least I know in his mind what his reason was. And he
Yeah.
said, as the game went longer, he wanted more pace on the pitch for the game opening up. And I was like, right, I understand. I see that point of view. But then in my head, I'm like, well, if the game's opening up, we're bringing pace onto the park, then it's going to create more opportunities for me. And I've got the faith in my ability that I could maybe take one of the chances I created. But it just seemed to be me, and we still have a laugh and a joke. If I ever see Jim in the telly with a notepad, I'll take a picture of him writing the notepad, and I'll just write like milk, eggs, Trouten off at 60 minutes. Right, so I'll just take the piss. But he's that good a guy who have a laugh and a joke with it. But that season, I think I scored our two latest goals. I waited on Fairman, I scored in injury time to get a draw, and I scored away to Falkirk, I think, in 90 odd minutes. So I was like, let's see what happens when you leave me on the pitch. I'll get a goal for you. So I loved that spell, and then Jim left, went to St Mirren, and then Peter Grant came in, which was difficult. Peter came in, he'd never been part time, and then COVID came in and all that. He had to deal with all that. So COVID was just for MD in normal life, but in football life, it was bonkers. And then when Barry came in, my last year, my body shut down for the full year. I only played, what did I play, 9 appearances in my last season at Alloa, 190 minutes. It was surreal. My body shut down. I had a neck spasm, tore my two groins, tore my quad, tore my two hammies, two calf strains, tore a stomach muscle, all in the one season. It just felt as if I'd get over one hurdle and then come back, train for a couple of weeks, break down again. But it was all different injuries. And then same again. I thought that was the end.
Was I was going to ask there, did you ever have that in your head that the playing days were close to ending? When there was like
Aye.
because obviously as a player, and we've spoke about it throughout, where you want to be playing, you want to be enjoying your football, you want to be creating chances, scoring
Yep.
goals, team to be doing well. But when you're injured, I mean, what's that like to be
The worst,
sitting there?
the worst feeling in the world. So that year at Alloa, as I say, I only made 9 appearances in 190 minutes. So MD knows Alloa, there's the dressing rooms in the stadium, and then out across the car park there's a wee gym. So gym that it's basically four walls with a couple of bits of equipment. The boys are going out to train. I'm in there for an hour and a half, Tuesday, Thursday. If it's a home game, I'm coming in. I'm getting into that gym myself. So you're just yourself all the time, fighting your own demons. Like, when am I going to get back? Like, do all my rehab, do it perfectly. During the day, I'm getting up early to go to the gym before my work to make sure I'm doing all my stuff. I'm coming home, so I'm sacrificing time with my family, sacrificing time to see my wife, see my daughter, coming home from work, going to the gym again, like, because that's the way I am now. I find myself as being a good professional, which probably wasn't the case when I was younger. It's mad how you get older. You're like, fuck, why didn't I just do that when I was younger? So
But
doing
at the
all that,
time, some of the times wouldn't have been as good though.
well, the rewards might have been better. But the stories would have been a lot less. So you're doing all that, you're sacrificing so much, and then you get back on the pitch, start training. I feel good here, and then within a week or two, back to doing it again. So I found that really tough, and I don't know if I was depressed. I could have been depressed, quite easily, because you're also coming into the stadium this Saturday to watch home games, and people are getting it. Oh, you injured again? Oh, there's Alan Trouten. He used to play with Alloa, and I'm like, do you honestly think I want to be injured? Like, I don't believe any of the boys at the top, the top part of football want to be injured. But see if you're getting injured and you're still getting 100, 200 grand in the bank every weekend, I'd imagine it's slightly easier.
Oh, aye.
But when you're not earning a lot of money part-time, and then honestly, it is very difficult, especially with the comments, "Oh, you injured again?" I'm like, do you genuinely think I want to be injured? Think I want to travel to Alloa 3 times a week to go to a gym, to do rehab? It's tough, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate the sacrifices and how hard it can be for footballers at all levels. As I say, it might be slightly easier financially for boys that are earning the top money, but still, it's their job. They don't want to be injured either. So I'll always bite back and fight the corner at any footballer when people are like, you see at Rangers with Ruth, or he's injured again. Like, the guy doesn't want to be injured. I can assure you that.
Yeah. And obviously when it came back, having a kind of, really like troubling spell with the injuries and it being one thing after another. And you then started to, become fitter. There was the wee niggles and injuries were
Yep.
gone. How did that then start to feel for you? Were you starting to be a lot happier playing again?
Oh, definitely. So when I went to East Fife, I was still having a few problems, but so that's where I need to thank Stevie Crawford and Greg McDonald. Like, they took me in, they gave me that chance, because I would have been, what, 37 when I signed for East Fife, and only played 9 games, well, 9 appearances, 190 minutes. So they took a massive risk in me. But Stevie had the belief, he's like, if I can get you fit, then I know the qualities you bring. So they persevered with me. I probably wasn't fit. I remember playing Dunfermline in the Via play, or the Betfred, whatever it was called at the time. And I've got tendonitis in my Achilles, so I need to pop naproxen all the time just to get through training games. That's still to this day. But I remember playing it, and I was like, I couldn't move. And I was like, these guys have hung their neck out for me. They've took this massive chance. But then I managed to get back. I managed to get the naproxen in me, the anti-inflammatories, and then just gradually get fitter and just play more minutes, play more games, and then before you know it, you're like, I feel good again. I'm able to play 90 minutes. I'm able to play 2 games in a row. I'm able to get a run of games. I'm able to start helping the team instead of thinking, "Oh, is this the end?" But see now I feel brilliant. Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
38. I'm 39 November, but it's probably the fittest I've been.
And I suppose that comes in a nicely into the next question in regards to, obviously one day the playing career is going
No,
to one now that may be a few seasons down the line, but
fingers
I
crossed.
but I think my question is, do you see yourself moving into kind of coaching, management, that side of it one day?
I don't know, John. I go through spells. It's weird. So I go through spells that I'm really interested in it. I It's probably bad to say, but I done my C license not that summer, the summer before, and that put me off coaching. I thought it was just a money making scheme, just utter crap. Like, a lot of it's online. You would sit and do a Zoom call with people telling you like how to do a warm up, and you and it was on for like 3 hours and discuss this, discuss that. And the SFA is charging you, I don't know, like 40, 50, 60 quid. You need to do 3 or 4 of these. Then you need to pay for the full thing. You're maybe just under £1,000. And then
Yeah,
that's just for the C license. And then you're on to the B, and even the stuff. A lot is online. I'm not tech savvy. I'm hopeless with computers. So I found that really difficult, the stuff on the computers. And then obviously, as you go higher up, the grades of coaching, that's going to be more and more intense. So as I say, sometimes I'm really, aye, that's what I want to do. If I was to go into it, I would probably find myself more, I think I'd be more a manager than a coach. If I was to go into it, I would want to be more a manager, and I would get somebody who's a really good coach in next to me. That's what I'd always have my eye on if I wanted to. But I feel as if the coaching badges are just such a money making scheme. And as I say, like, I love football. My family, I've sat and watched football a day to day, and they're going after nut. But it's what I love. So
yeah.
if once, like, I dread the day that I can't play. I dread it. But I don't I don't know if I could walk away for the game. I would always be. I think I'd always be, whether it's a supporter, a coach, a manager, a scout. I don't know, but I think I would always feel myself just dragged back to the game because of my love for it.
And I suppose the amount of years that, professionally as well, you've been involved in it, it would be very difficult to just stand aside.
Aye, like see that on a Saturday. So see in the summer, see when the season ends, and my wife's like, "Oh, mum, we go to the shops on a Saturday." Like, nah, no, that I couldn't get into that. I couldn't. It's just something I couldn't do. Like, oh, what do you want to do on a Saturday? And I'm just like, I'm bored. Like, you get up, have your breakfast, maybe go to the gym, come back, and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you're like, what do I do now?
You're
What
looking
what did
through,
we?
is there no like Norwegian third division game
Ah,
on that I can just
aye,
see?
aye, or even like so when the junior football's still on, I'll find myself there at a game, or if my team's not in the playoffs, if I'm not like my mates are playing, or if they get a playoff game or whatever. But then you're like, I've basically done 11 months of playing football. Now it's a Saturday. Then you feel as if, right, I should be doing something with the family. But then when you're out at a soft play or whatever with the wee one, you're like, what time is it? We'll catch a second half, or what's the scores? And your head's not there. It's just football's always going to be in the back of my mind.
And just a final question I'd like to kind of ask, because obviously we've been through your career and your
It's
experience
not
and
been great, has it? The more we spoke about it, I've realised how bad my career's been.
well, I think what we've noticed is that
What
the
do you
older
mean,
the
well, you're meant to say, no, it's actually
no
been all right. But you're like, well, I agree.
no, the older you got, the more because I'll be honest, I remember you playing. I've been going to games for years, and I remember you, and I always hated if I was watching a team that I wanted to win and you were up against us because for some reason I genuinely, and I'm not, and you can check because I don't just kind of say these things. I genuinely thought I seen you scoring all the time because
Uh,
every time I would go to a game and you'd be playing, I'd be like up, and the amount of times I'd went, I was like, can I get him on to score? Because every time I'd went, I'd seen, and
yeah.
we doing kind of the podcast and that and what I do. Um, I'm in kind of different chats and different people kind of speak to me and ask me, oh, like, who have you got coming on and stuff? And when your name was mentioned, and what might surprise you was that the responses were very consistent on uh, professional, great worker, great player. Obviously, penalty taking expert. I think was flung over about a dozen times. um, and but as I say, I think I personally think that the career has been good. I think a couple of spells. I think we've all had jobs, haven't
Ah,
we? That we've
definitely. What is weird? Like, I think since my daughter was born, so she'll be 7 at the end of June. So see, since then, so she was born at this, so the 26th of June, so the start of the season when I went at Albion Rovers, and people were like, "Oh, you're gonna be in for it now. Like, you'll need to chuck your football. You'll be shattered." And by God, I was shattered. But that was like the most prolific scoring season. So I scored 28 Albion Rovers, then get my move to Alloa in the Championship, scored 19 that season. So then after that, I was like, wish I had wins when I was much younger. I'm a millionaire. My career could have been better. Nothing to do with it, like, I love my kids or whatever, but I'd be like, see if I had kids earlier and this is how it worked, I could have done a much better career now.
I imagine the goal scoring records that there would have
I
been.
know. Aye, so people blame the downfall in their careers are having kids and the lack of sleep. For some reason, the lack of sleep seems to have helped me.
But the one kind of question I had for you, and not specifically on yourself here, it was just your opinion. When you look at the changes in Scottish football, so now we're seeing the introduction of the pyramid,
Yeah.
your lowland and your highland, and the kind of progression through that. How do you, in your opinion, do you kind of think that works? Do you think it works well?
I think it's great. I think it's great because you've seen in like at East Stirling when I was younger with Queen's Park and stuff, they were always kind of finishing bottom of the league, and they never had that kind of fear of, oh, we could go out of the leagues here. They knew you finish 10th next season, start again, and they tried. They went through wee spells of being better and then kind of falling off. But now you've got teams like Cove, Kelty. They've come up even like playing Bonnyrigg the last couple of years. you've got that people that are want to put money in junior teams or lowland league teams, that ambition. They've got that incentive now instead of winning the leagues and going, right, where do we go for here?
Yeah,
We're just kind of stuck. We're ambitious. We want to be better. We want to build a club for like off the pitch, improve all the infrastructure. Because a lot of these clubs are like community based, and they've got loads of youth teams, and they've probably got a better structure than a lot of the professional teams. But then they were winning these leagues, and they couldn't go anywhere. So I think the pyramid scheme's been great. I don't know if it works perfectly. So I know East Kilbride could. What are they waiting on, a point or a couple of points to
I
win the
went on a
league?
point to win the league.
So this is early April. So if they win it now, our season doesn't finish to the 4th of May. So they could have just under a month before our season plays. Then they need to play the Highland League.
Winner of the Highland League, yeah.
So they need to play the winner of the Highland League. And is that one or two games? Is that a one-off game?
Over 2 legs.
So that's 2 legs. So they're not playing that for maybe 3-4 weeks after they've won the league. Then they need to play the winners. The team that finishes bottom. So they could have won the league and then had to wait maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks before they play a game that's what they've done. They're waiting to play that game their full season. So the reason they're waiting so long is because they've been so successful in the league, and then they'll have it wrapped up so early. But
Yeah.
still, when you've got that extra games, I think it is difficult, and it's favoured maybe in the team that finishes 10th to try and stay up, and you need to play the 2 games. Well, you see it for the championship, try to get in the SPL. That's a shambles.
Yeah. Now,
That's a shambles because that's totally changed for the other playoffs in the leagues. Why to protect the SPL teams?
and I think as well, when you look at the jumping the kind of Highland and Lowland stuff, I think you've never seen a team come back up yet that's been relegated.
No, aye, East
And
Stirling, Berwick, Albion Rovers.
and if you look at Brechin as well, they've
Aye.
won the league. And I didn't know this until Kevin Mackey at Brechin City had been on, and you get no money for winning the league.
What, for the one in the Highland League?
Highland or Lowland League, you get no money. And which is
Why is that?
it became a big thing now.
Aye.
There's kind of been stuff sent to me from different guys at different clubs, but I think he was one of the Kev Mackey was one of the first to speak out about it, and it's now became quite a kind of bigger thing down there that you win the league if you lose. So they lost in the playoffs to Spartans,
Yep, aye.
and obviously then Spartans go up, and they Spartans went into the playoff with Albion
Beat
Rovers.
Albion Rovers.
Yep, but Brechin obviously are as is, so they get
Yep.
no money for winning that league, and it's basically have to go again next season.
That's mad, isn't it?
Which was the
Yeah.
one bit that shocked me. You win a league,
Yeah. And there's no
and
financial reward for it.
there's no financial gain or promotion because you've got potentially 4 games to play
Yeah, after it.
before you can get in.
But Scottish football, innit?
Yeah. And you know what, you're right though in regards to the setups of some of the teams, because I've kind of went round and about in Spartans before they were in the league. I seen the setup and
Yep.
was kind of shocked. Never
Aye.
ever thought, that kind of setup as professional as that was there.
Yeah, I was the same until they came into the league this season. Like, and then you go and play Spartans at their place, and they've got all the different pitches, and they've got teams on it constantly for the minute you turn up. Whilst you're playing, they've got games on the other 2 pitches,
Yeah.
and then when you're coming off, there's more teams coming on. So they seem to have a great setup, and I think that's the way teams need to go. Get the community, try and get the young players into the first team, and then hopefully they can get some compensation at least for them and work their way up, or even the reputation that, right, we give young boys a chance, come play with us, and then you can get your move.
And the final question I've got for you, and I really appreciate your time that
No
you've took
bother
today,
at all.
mate. Well, sorry, final 2 questions. So the first one being, how would you personally at East Fife, what would be seen as successful to finish the season?
Well, we're 6 points off of Spartans, 6 points off the playoff spots with 4 games to go. The only thing is we play Spartans the last game of the season, so if we can get within touching distance for that last game of the season, it sets it up to be quite exciting. And I always find that weird, like the fixtures seem to throw games up like that. Maybe at the start of the season, you'd never have thought it'd be between us and Spartans to get that
Yeah.
playoff spot. So it could be quite interesting. So we've underachieved this season. We set off the season expecting to be up there challenging, and it's been disappointing. As I say, we've picked up the last 9 weeks, so we're on a good run now. And until it's mathematically impossible to make the playoff spots, then we'll be pushing the teams above us all the way.
And the final question, which is a bit different than normally, but the last question I'd ask, but because of where we're at, the obviously when you finish the season, everything's done. But this season we've got the Euros on.
Yep.
Who would your pick to win the Euros be?
So I picked Italy to win the last one, then I picked Argentina to win the World Cup. So I'm in a decent wee run. I think England will be there or thereabouts. As much as it hurts me, I think Southgate will hold them back because he'll not play the best players in their best positions or the best players. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think
I love how
I
all the stuff we've spoke about, this seems to be what you've took the most time thinking over.
aye, geez, I don't want to win it. I don't know. The Germans are always there or thereabouts, but they've been poor. But then I've seen them against France, and I know it's just a friendly, but they were excellent. France are weird, aren't they? They've got the forward players defensively. I don't know if they're great. I think France will be there, but I'd love Spain to come back. See that Spain team, Xavi and Iniesta, kind
Yeah.
of just all the midfielders are. I know they've got some good Spanish boys now. Yeah, I don't know. I think even Portugal have got an unbelievable squad, but then again, I think the manager could be probably their biggest problem with Martinez. I don't know if he's an elite manager to get them over the line to win a Euros. But I'll just say MD, but England. Anybody's that.
and and the final part in it, do you think Scotland will do decent?
I'm optimistic. I think people are getting too carried away with saying, "Oh, we'll definitely get out the group stage," because the Germans on home soil, Hungary, Switzerland, they're good teams.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we've got a defined right to be confident against MD. And I think over if you've ever watched Scotland, I know some people aren't fans of the national team. I love watching Scotland, love it. And it's like it's always set you up, don't they? And when you think you're going to do well, that's when they just hang me down. But going back to the two friendlies, I never seen the Northern Ireland game because we trained on Tuesday. But I sat and watched the Holland game, and I thought Scotland were excellent. See, for 70 minutes, I don't think in my lifetime I've ever seen a Scotland team play like that. I thought the way they played on another day, they could have scored 4 or 5 goals. The chances they created, even when we went back and beat Spain 2-0, we would never have made 5 clear-cut chances. That
Yeah.
night against Spain, we probably created 2 where Cunningham took them. So I thought that for 70 minutes, up until the second goal and then the changes, I thought Scotland were brilliant. And you get the ones, we get pumped 4-0. But when you look at the game, a very good Dutch team, and we battered them for 70 minutes. So that gave me a lot of belief. Obviously, then you go 3, 4 nights later and you get beat at home to Northern Ireland. And I just think that's Scotland. To get out the group stages, something that we've never done before would be amazing. It really would be for the nation. Because even, I know the last Euros, we were there eventually after getting qualifying for a major tournament since '98, but you just felt the buzz about the full country.
Yeah.
Anywhere you went, there was a buzz, and obviously that was still restricted times during COVID. So now, when like every second person you speak to, they're going to Germany in some capacity. It's mental, and I love it. It's brilliant, and I think the more we can get there, and then we can attract more kids, males and females, to play football. It can only be a positive for the country going forward.
Definitely. Well, as I say, I've watched the Northern Ireland game, and I try and take not too much out of friendlies because you
Aye,
think, do you know what? It's a friendly. Was there maybe tactical changes that in his head he was trying to make and look at and different things? So I kind of hope that, any time it's mattered, we've done well.
aye,
So
recently, aye,
you can
exactly.
argue that the friendlies didn't matter in a capacity of qualification or anything. So I'm kind of
Yeah,
hoping that had a part to play in it and that we'll go here. I mean, I'm going to be honest, opening night, we're playing Germany. I'm betting us 5-1. Just go for it. But no, I'm with you. If we get out the group stage, I think that'll be a massive achievement.
Of course.
And
Because it's
like,
something we've never done.
yeah, and I think a lot of the boys, staff, players, and everything kind of cement themselves in kind of history.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But look, Alan, I really appreciate you taking the time today, mate. Thanks so much for spending the time coming on. Hopefully the rest of the season goes the way for you. I'll definitely be over and out. It's actually a ground that I've yet to be to go to. But I was sitting working out distances and where places are the other day. So
Right.
over the this season into next season, the plan is to have kind of travelled all about and I've got through. So I'll definitely be out to see a game soon, especially if she's in the playoffs as well. So fingers
Oh, so
crossed. But
you're only coming to a game if we make the playoffs.
no,
One of
no,
the
no, no,
ones.
no. This
One of the
season.
ones. Make the playoffs and I'll think about it.
This season, I mean, to be fair, mate, I've been to a lot of Albion Rovers games, and we know they're making nothing. So it's not all about glory hunting. But no, as I say, I actually sat this season and was looking, and there was grounds I was trying to get to, and due to one thing and another happening on Saturday, it all kind of imploded. So, but no, into next season, I'll definitely try and get out. I definitely will get out at some point. But look, all the best for the rest of the season, mate. Really appreciate
Much
you
appreciated.
coming on, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks very much for having me. I've enjoyed that. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Take it easy. Thank you.